Good evening. Thank you very much for joining us for this edition of Channel 1 News Hour. My name is Edward Kabasa. I hope you had yourself a very wonderful day today. We have a comprehensive coverage of today's news for you, including news about division of revenue. The plot continues to thicken. But first, let us take a look at the highlights. Counties to suspend services from Thursday as stalemate over ideal county revenue allocation formula continues at the Senate. Ministry of Education issues guidelines on health and safety protocols for reopening of basic education institutions.
We are doing 20 weddings per day. And the people who come to this venue is only the bride, the groom, and the two witnesses. And they are given their scheduled appointments. So they don't all come at 8 o'clock.
And it's a change of venue as Nairobi Primary School is gazetted to conduct civil weddings in the capital city. On the bottom right of your screen is our sign language interpreter, Lensa Odingo. Counties will suspend services beginning tomorrow due to a cash crunch. A statement from the Council of Governors claims operations in the counties have been undergoing serious financial crisis and will no longer hold. Consequently, governors have been directed by their council to release all employees for 14 days leave. The council says only minimal outpatient services will be offered in hospitals as it pursues a speedy release of county funds.
The Council of Governors made good its threat of shutting down operations at the counties on Wednesday when it directed the devolved units to suspend operations. In a statement signed by the COG Chair Wycliffe Oparanya Wednesday, the devolved units were directed not to permit new inpatient admissions and instead allow only minimal outpatient services. Non-essential services were also suspended, with all county employees advised to proceed on leave for 2 weeks as the council continues to push for speedy release of county funds.
Senate ilikuwa inajua kabisa kwamba baada ya miaka mitano hiyo formula lazima iangaziwe upya. Hiyo miaka mitano watu walikuwa wako wapi? Hata kama wangesema kwanza tupatiane pesa wafanyikazi ambao wanafanya mahospitali na kwa department zile zingine, at least waweze kulipa rent na kupata chakula na kulisha familia zao.
The current situation right now, where counties are being starved of money, where counties have to decide to shut down, is a shame. It's a shame to us as Kenyans. It's a shame to our constitution. It's a shame to each and every child of this country, and shame to the political elite of this country.
The Council of Governors had warned 2 weeks ago that counties will close operation on the 17th of September should Senate fail to agree on revenue sharing formula and unlock funds to the devolved units. Senators, in opposing the move to shut down counties, warned that governors have no legal authority to paralyze services in the devolved units.
Any public official who directs others to violate law, to violate the Constitution, and if you read that together with Section 199 of PFM Act, you will find that they are committing an offense and they are liable to imprisonment for 5 years.
The shutdown is not a decision by the chairman of the council. This follows a resolution made by the full council on 8 September 2020.
The lawmakers challenging the county bosses to first account for monies that have already been dispersed to counties.
It is shocking to us how somebody who has been a minister for planning, who should be understanding processes, who has been a member of parliament for Butere, Madam Speaker, can act in such a manner.
It is not going to happen. You are not going to force us. You are not going to jail us. You are not going to arrest us, even if we send you a pin.
The Senate spent the whole afternoon discussing B instead of discussing the formula. I hope the Speaker will resolve that they should not be paid for this afternoon.
There were hopes on Tuesday after President Uhuru Kenyatta met the Senate leadership and the chairperson of the Council of Governors to unlock the stalemate. The president promised additional 50 billion shillings next financial year, subjected to the economy improving. The Senate has on more than 9 occasions failed to agree on a revenue sharing formula.
The Ministry of Education has published guidelines on health and safety protocols for the reopening of basic education institutions. The guidelines spell out measures all basic educational institutions should put in place before they are allowed to reopen. The regulations demand that all basic educational institutions be involved in ensuring learning continues for all Kenyans despite the interruptions occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic.
The government closed all learning institutions from 15th of March 2020 to curb the spread of the coronavirus. The pandemic has disrupted learning for over 18 million learners and trainees in Kenya, posing a threat to the attainment of Sustainable Development Goal number 4 on access to quality, equitable and inclusive education and training. To address the COVID-19 pandemic, the Ministry of Education developed a COVID-19 response and recovery plan whose aim is to guide on modalities of provision of accessible, quality, equitable and inclusive education and training to all Kenyans during and after the pandemic. The regulations demand that prior to the reopening of schools, educational institutions develop policies and procedures suitable in their own environment to enable smooth reopening of the institutions and provide budget to institute a safe and protective learning environment by putting in place all health protocols required in the fight against COVID-19. In preparation for reopening of educational institutions, heads of institutions are required to build the capacity of institutional staff, learners, boards of management, and parents on the management of COVID-19, ensure adequate clean running water and sanitation facilities in the institution, develop awareness messages, and enlighten learners, teachers, non-teaching staff, parents, and entire institution's community on key COVID-19 prevention. During and after reopening of institutions, school heads are to ensure revision of institution rules and regulations and a daily routine to be responsive to the changes occasioned by the COVID-19 pandemic. Ensure institutions reorganize respective activities to ensure a social distance of at least 1 meter in all aspects of the institution. Maintain updated biodata of all learners and contact numbers and home addresses of the parents, guardians, caregivers for ease of management of emergencies, and keep parents and guardians informed of the physical and behavioral changes expected and to be implemented in the schools and colleges. The head teachers are demanded to restrict entrance of visitors in the institution, and all institution events such as career and motivation days are cancelled until further notice. All educational institutions should have adequate toilets which are properly maintained to prevent spread of diseases. Institutional food handlers and cleaners will be required to have personal protective equipment, including gloves, apron, and face masks to promote basic health and hygiene. Learners should maintain at least 1 meter distance from others while waiting to board vehicles, and the ground should be clearly marked. In respect to co-curricular activities protocols, fields shall be appropriately marked to ensure learners play different games that avoid touching or holding. The institution management will be required to ensure there is a qualified nurse in charge or have arrangements with local health centers to manage learners' health-related issues and ensure institutions' clinics are equipped with emergency medical supplies to assist learners and staff in the event of COVID-19 outbreaks. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News.
And the government has exempted 147 nationals, including those from Tanzania, from a 14-day mandatory quarantine when they arrive in the country. Nationals from the listed countries will now be allowed to mingle freely with the public. In a joint briefing with the Ministry of Health and that of Foreign Affairs, the government said the decision was to save the hurting economy as well as resolve diplomatic disputes arising from conflicting preventive measures between countries. In the meantime, 92 more Kenyans have tested positive for COVID-19 from 2,985 samples tested in the last 24 hours, taking the total number of confirmed cases to 36,393. Purity Busa with that report.
The Ministry of Health has reviewed its COVID-19 trends and exempted 147 nationals, including Tanzanians, from the 14 days mandatory quarantine when they arrive in the country. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs, through its Chief Administrative Secretary, Ababu Namwamba, said the move would revive diplomatic ties, especially between Kenya and Tanzania, over conflicting COVID-19 protocols that had culminated in Tanzania banning flights from Kenya.
That Kenya's foreign policy is about constructive engagement with all, is about good neighborliness, is about sharing prosperity and being there for one another. And it is in that spirit that we consider ourselves to be a good neighbor to all. And we consider Tanzania to be a friendly, brotherly, sisterly country with whom we definitely share a fantastic relationship.
Tanzania's Civil Aviation Agency then lifted suspension of flights from Kenya after Kenya exempted their nationals from the mandatory quarantine.
We have not seen any change in number of imported cases coming into the country. Of course, we also have a very stringent follow-up for our based platform. And because of this, there's no significant change before lifting the travel restriction and now when you have opened airspace.
The Ministry of Health on Wednesday announcing that 92 Kenyans had tested positive for the novel coronavirus from 2,985 samples tested in the last 24 hours, taking the total number of confirmed cases to 36,393.
These cases are all Kenyans except 4 foreigners, and in terms of gender, we have 64 male and 28 female. The youngest is a 2-year-old child, while the oldest is 75.
Nairobi recorded 25 cases, Mombasa 20, Nakuru 8, Garissa 7, Uasin Gishu 6, Kisumu 5, Turkana and Kiambu counties 4 cases each, Kakamega 3, Machakos, Kajiado and Busia 2 cases each, with Nyeri, Kilifi, Taita Taveta and Tana River recording single cases.
165 people have recovered from the disease, whereas 105 were discharged from hospitals and 60 from the home-based care program. Unfortunately, however, we've lost 3 patients to the disease, bringing our total fatality to 637.
With the government having exempted citizens from 147 countries from quarantine as they jet into the country, the question is whether any cases of imports of COVID-19 disease will have any significant effect, considering that the virus has already established community transmission. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News, Nairobi.
Thank you very much, Purity Museo, for that report. Channel 1 News takes a very short break. Don't go anywhere. We still have plenty more lined up for you. See you in a bit.
When the world changed, it made us go back to the simple joys and love the little things even more, like serving up your best, eating together, and sharing more. Now, we'll take nothing for granted and always remember to taste the simple joys. Coca-Cola. Taste the simple joys.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
I hope that was a rhetorical question, Margot. We don't have time to waste today.
Hey, Atito, and who do you think you are to talk to fellow students like that?
I can talk to you idiots the way I please. I am now in charge.
Tija, what are those? What do you mean, what are those? I've taught this many times, I have lost count. Hey, Mr. Teacher, maybe you taught that on another class.
Nonsense inside that trouser. You think you can put us around as you please?
Ne, Atito Japuru. We copy exams together always. No, you think you can teach us what exactly?
You know, you're so full of yourself, you know that? Huh? This hard head of yours is going to be your downfall.
And now you are talking.
Yes, I'm talking, and it's regression, not regression.
This weekend on KBC Channel 1.
Do we look like the two dumbest guys in the world to you?
In this town, you don't mess with the law.
You know how fast you were going?
65.
63.
The law messes with you.
Isn't the speed limit 65?
Yeah, it is.
I'm freaking out, man.
Oh! Give me a double bacon cheeseburger.
Double bacon cheeseburger, it's for a cop.
They're coming back, man!
Pull the vehicle over. I'm already pulled over.
Pull over farther, man!
I can't pull over. Sir, I'm already pulled over.
He's already pulled over. He can't pull over any farther.
Super Troopers.
It's a quarter past the hour. Thank you very much for keeping us company. President Uhuru Kenyatta has called for urgent and bold interventions to deal with the challenges posed by climate change in the African continent. The president noted that the recent climate change attributed desert locust invasion of Eastern Africa, as well as intermittent droughts and floods, a growing socio-economic burden to the region. President Kenyatta spoke Wednesday at State House, Nairobi, during the virtual launch of the African Charter of the Global Center on Adoption, where he said effects of climate change have been worsened by the global COVID-19 health crisis.
Resources that are now allocated to fighting COVID-19 and to mitigate its negative impacts on the global economy have now reduced what is available to address climate change. It is imperative, therefore, that as we combat this pandemic, we also integrate climate adaptation measures into COVID-19 recovery packages.
Environment Cabinet Secretary Keriako Tobiko is urging Nairobi Governor Mike Mbuvi Sonko and the Director General of Nairobi Metropolitan Services, Major General Mohammed Badi, to work together for the betterment of service delivery in the city. Tobiko, who was presiding over the International Day of the Ozone Layer at Michuki Park in Nairobi, attended by the two, said time was quickly ticking to 2022 and leaders bestowed with responsibility must team together and deliver the Kenyan dream.
Gracing the World Ozone Protection Day at the newly revamped Michuki Gardens, Environment Cabinet Secretary Keriako Tobiko weighed in on the bad blood between Nairobi Governor Mike Sonko and the Nairobi Metropolitan Service Director General Mohammed Badi, seeming to speak directly to the county boss who also attended the occasion. Tobiko urged the governor to focus on improving the livelihoods of the residents of Nairobi rather than engaging on supremacy battle.
It is not competition as to who is more powerful, who is senior, who is more influential. That really doesn't matter at all. What our people want and desire is unity of purpose.
The CS revealing that General Badi was ready to work with the governor in order to achieve the development agenda of the city.
Time for sideshows will come, time for campaigns will come, and Your Excellency the Governor, I assure you, as I have assured the DG NMS, that we are willing, ready and able to work together with your government, your ministries and your agencies to ensure that the people of this beautiful city get the services they desire.
He urged leaders to focus on delivering on their mandates as 2022 was quickly approaching.
We have less than 2 years left to 2022, or almost. And so time is not on our side. And we should try as best as we can to maximize on the time left by delivering services to our people and avoiding sideshows.
Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
Wedding ceremonies, whether church or customary, have become rare since the COVID-19 outbreak. For those seeking to solemnize their unions at the Attorney General's office in Nairobi County, there is a slight change in the venue. Over the next 3 months, the ceremonies will be conducted at the Nairobi Primary School following the gazettement by the national government. And as Irene Muchuma-Udim reports, demand for the service is high, with 20 couples putting pen to paper on their marriage certificates on Wednesday.
Nairobi Primary School, which has remained closed since March this year, will now serve as a marriage registration center for couples seeking to legalize their unions in the capital city. It has already been spruced up for the all-important exercise, complete with hand-washing stations, changing rooms, 4 signage points, and 2 photo shoot areas. Security is also guaranteed.
We are doing 20 weddings per day. And the people who come to this venue is only the bride, the groom, and the 2 witnesses. And they are given their scheduled appointments. So they don't all come at 8 o'clock. So if we are starting at 9, the couple that starts at 9, 10 minutes officiating, 10 minutes to take their photographs, and then 10 minutes to leave, so that the next couple comes in. So we've allocated 30 minutes for each couple.
On the first day of operation, 20 couples were legally joined in matrimony after parting with a fee of 3,900 shillings each.
This has hardly cost anything. I mean, not more than 10,000 has gone to do the preparation of this venue. The grounds have been given to us for free.
The State Law Office says the center will have 2 points with 2 registrars performing a maximum of 60 ceremonies weekly. This is aimed at reducing the current backlog of requests from 700 to 400.
So other than just the civil marriages, there are other services going on in Sharia House that are not necessarily officiating marriages. So that's why we have to decongest, and the garden weddings are for Nairobi only.
Chief Administrative Secretary, State Law Office, Winnie Gushu, says the center will facilitate marriages for all religions. Couples have lauded the new marriage process, terming it pocket-friendly, less crowded, and historic. They say life without love is like a tree without blossoms. While other couples could be waiting for COVID-19 to come to an end for them to take on pompous wedding, there are those who can't wait any longer, and from this day forward, together they become one. Irene Muchuma-Udim, Channel 1 in the county of Nairobi.
Now you know. Let's move to other matters now. The government is in the process of completing the adjudication process of 37 million Kenyans who turned up for the Huduma Namba registration 1 year ago. Speaking after meeting the National Assembly's Committee on Delegation, I beg your pardon for that. Speaking after meeting the National Assembly's Delegated Legislation Committee, Interior Principal Secretary Karanja Kibisho said the data of 17 million Kenyans have been cleaned up, and they intend to complete the process before the end of this year to create one center of information.
The cleanup exercise on the Huduma Namba is almost coming to an end, with the government promising that all those who registered are given one single Huduma card that will carry all their information by next year.
We are envisaging to finish this cleanup and all that and start issuing of Huduma cards themselves by the end of this fiscal year. But I had also indicated that the data adjudication, we are almost 15 million out of the expected about 18 million, 20 million of adults, because those are the ones where the fingerprints exist with the National Registration Bureau.
Interior PS Karanja Kibicho revealed that all the data that was taken have been mined successfully through the creation of a data center in a very rigorous exercise.
And as soon as that is cleaned up, then a Huduma number is generated. That Huduma number becomes what we shall print in a card. And I had also said that the process of setting up our local production, because we do the cards locally, is almost 90% complete as well.
He said the delay was occasioned by the daunting task in identifying the fingerprints of 14 million Kenyans.
What we have in our records and what we obtained must match 100% for us to be sure that the person who presented themselves before us is the person. Then we admit that person as a Kenyan.
Kibicho said that the tight security document that will be distributed to Kenyans will prevent forgery that has been witnessed in the country.
The reason why we were having a serious problem of forgeries with our identification documents is because it was so easy to forge them. We don't have security features, we don't have anything that can deter a criminal from reproducing these documents. And therefore, we also have processed a very tight security document that will be impossible for anybody to forge.
He, however, said that the government intends to carry out another phase of Huduma Namba registration to cater for 10 million Kenyans who did not turn up during the exercise, so as to ensure no one is left out. ICTPS Jerome Ochieng lauded the move, saying the days of carrying huge files and records are far gone.
Digitization nowadays, we're actually saying digitization is no longer an option, but it is a necessity. So the use of technology, again, is no longer an option, but it is a necessity, because we all have to change with the times.
According to him, digitization is a necessity in line with the Data Protection Act 2018 to help provide accurate, reliable, and secure information of an individual.
A section of youth in Embu County has endorsed Murang'a County Governor Mwangi wa Iria for president in the upcoming 2022 general elections. The group argues that the Murang'a County boss has demonstrated his ability to foster unity among Kenyans and spur development. The endorsement comes even as Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka moved to woo the Rift Valley region as he seeks to position himself as a presidential candidate. Murang'a County Governor Mwangi wa Iria's presidential ambitions appear to be resonating with a section of youth in Embu County. The group, in endorsing wa Iria for president, expressed confidence that the county boss has requisite credentials to seek a stab at the country's top job.
Na kwa sasa kama vijana tumezungusha akili tukajiuliza ni nani anaweza tumwa kwa duka arudi na unga ya ugali ndio sisi tuweze kukula ugali. Na kwa vile tumeangalia gavana wa Iria na sifa zake na kazi mingi ameifanya, Murang'a maziwa iko na bei, tukasema hatuna mwingine kama sio gavana Mwangi wa Iria.
Tunataka kiongozi mwenye atasaidia wakulima waweze kujitegemea. Hakuna kitu ingine, ni hiyo tu. Na Mwangi wa Iria ako na background ya kutosa. Alikuwa KCC na ndio wakati alikuja akawa governor, alikuja akaingia akasaidia wakulima wa maziwa wakaweza kuendelea vizuri. Pili akaweza akaingia kwa sekta ya kahawa. Saa hii anang'ang'ana wakulima wa avocado.
Governor wa Iria, who recently expressed interest in the presidency, joins a growing list of Kenyans who have also thrown their hats in the 2022 succession politics. Among them is Wiper Party leader Kalonzo Musyoka, who appears keen on making inroads in the Rift Valley region. Kalonzo, who met a group of religious leaders drawn from the Rift Valley, called on Kenyans to shun divisive politics.
Hii bedroom ya Kenya belongs to all the Kenyans. Kwa hivyo nyinyi muwe watu wa kuliberate nchi hii. If you know a good leader, kama vile umeongea, don't be shy kusema.
Meanwhile, a section of MPs has called for fairness in the division of revenue among the 47 county governments.
Let us devolve resources to where the people are, so that we empower the women, we empower the young people, we empower everyone.
What is so difficult kwa senators kuangalia waone kwamba Kiambu na sehemu zingine za Uasin Gishu na zingine za Nandi na zingine hata za Nyanza, very simple mathematics, lakini wamezunguka for 1.5 years, wengine wanapatiwa microphone wanaanza kulia.
How come when it comes to revenue sharing unaambiwa kwamba people who are many wanapata pesa kidogo na wenye wachache wanapata pesa mingi? That is the reason why I'm saying that for me And from the people, the leadership of the Luo Nyanza, we are saying that it is one man, one vote, one shilling.
The lawmakers argued that the distribution of resources must correspond with the size of our population to help populous regions achieve desired levels of development. And in other matters, Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi will remain in police custody for another 7 days. Nakuru Chief Magistrate Josephat Carlo ordered the legislature locked up to allow police to conclude investigations. The court said public interest overrides the respondent's right to be released on bond.
Kapseret Member of Parliament Oscar Sudi was presented before Nakuru Chief Magistrate Josephat Carlo on Monday on a miscellaneous application seeking to hold him for 14 days.
The respondent be taken to KBH for treatment is hereby extended for such period that the respondent will fully recover, or the period for detention shall lapse, whoever comes first. And secondly, the defense shall be supplied with certified copies of proceedings and ruling at their cost.
The prosecution, led by Daniel Karuri, had sought more time to complete investigations into the crimes allegedly committed by the legislator. The state, in an affidavit sworn by investigating officer James Akello, said a statement was yet to be recorded from the MP, who on Sunday turned himself in at the Langas police station and subsequently flown to Nakuru. He had evaded arrest for 48 hours. Karuri objected to his release on bond, saying he was being investigated for hate speech, assault of a police officer, offensive conduct, unlawful possession of firearm and bullets, and resisting arrest. The court will now rule on his bond application on the 23rd of this month.
We have accepted and obliged the ruling, but we wish to confirm that we shall be moving immediately to the High Court for review. Not necessarily for Honorable Sudi's case, but most importantly for posterity and to set the law right in this country. Because today it may be Honorable Sudi, tomorrow it could be any of you, including you members of the press.
Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1.
Residents of Olokuroto village in Narok West Sub-County are on the trail of a marauding lion which killed 11 sheep last night. The locals are now appealing to the Kenya Wildlife Service to tame the lion, which has been terrorizing them for a long time, or else they retaliate.
Tumekuwa na woga sana kama wamama. Kama inaweza toa kondoo ndani ya boma, sinaweza fungua watoto pia kuchukua. Sasa tunaomba serikali penye mko mchukua hatua kwa hizo wanyama, kwa sababu zinatusumbua sana.
Tired of the lion that has been giving them sleepless nights, locals of Olokuroto village in Narok West Sub-County have declared war on a marauding cat. The locals claim the lion last night killed 11 sheep valued at over 90,000 shillings. They claim this is the third time the lion is striking the village and they will not take it anymore. The owner of the sheep, Dixon Kipera, lamented that the lion has been terrorizing the area for a long time.
Tangu tulipopata shida ambayo ilikuwa tangu tuanze mwaka huu ambayo tumepata shida, hatujaiona KWS, na hata ile compensations yao ambao wanasema tuna compensate hatujawahi ona.
Tumeumia sana, hata ni uchungu kubwa sana. Ndio tumekuja, tumesanyika watu wengi, hata tumelia. Ndio tunahitaji usaidizi wenu, tuone mkono ya serikali, mchukueni jambo. Ngoja nyinyi report yenu, sababu tumekuwa na shida nyingi sana hii boma ya Kipera.
Locals claiming the village is at the mercy of the lion, which not only targets sheep but also cows. The residents are now calling Kenya Wildlife Service officers to intervene and track down the killer animal.
Na ni simba ambayo imekuwa kila siku ikitusumbua. Kama inawezekana hata wale ambao wanauzika wangeua, kwa sababu imekuwa mkorofi sana.
Residents of Oda in Mandera County are pleading with the national government to sink boreholes in the region to end prolonged water shortage in the area. The residents say they spend many hours in search of water, leaving them with little time to engage in other daily activities.
Water is without a doubt a precious commodity, and for residents of Oda in Mandera County, accessing it is by all accounts an expensive venture. They walk for over 18 kilometers in search of water for domestic use and livestock. Now they are tired of spending hours in search of water, which ideally should be within reach.
Sisi tunataka msaada kubwa sana kwa baadhi za njia na baadhi za maji yote. Hivi video unaona hapa kuna watu walilala hapa siku mbili. Hata sasa kuna mbuzi ako na siku 3 hapa kichakani na wanakosa maji.
Other than spending many hours in search of water, when they finally get a source, there is a scramble. Fights are common. For instance, at this borehole, there is always drama every day.
Angalia vile nilivimba hapa, uso ndio vile nilipigwa hapa. Kwa saa hizi juu ya maji hapa ndani, si ndio? Si nilipigwa kama hizi.
The boreholes serves over 500 residents and hundreds of livestock. Residents also say poor road infrastructure hinders water bowser trucks from accessing the area.
Naomba serikali kuu watusaidie hasa MCA na MP ambao watu wamechagua hapo juu watu wanapigana juu ya maji. Tunataka serikali kuu na county wasaidie hawa watu.
The county government through Water CEC Mohammed Omar, however, dismissed the allegations.
Oda has 3 low-yielding boreholes. The community wants to concentrate a lot of livestock on these few low-yielding boreholes, which creates a lot of crisis for them. Instead of now the animals walking to Arabia, which is about 15-18 kilometers.
Samburu North Member of Parliament Alois Lentoimaga is calling on the Inspector General of Police and the Directorate of Criminal Investigations to find a lasting solution to insecurity in Baragoi. Elsewhere, the government has partnered with the Kenya Association of Manufacturers to develop mentorship programs for the youth. Details in our county news roundup.
Following the murder of a woman in her house in Munanda village by bandits, Samburu North Member of Parliament Alois Lentoimaga says there is a need for a permanent solution to insecurity in Baragoi area. Lentoimaga, who condemned the killing, urged the Inspector General of Police and Directorate of Criminal Investigations to get to the root of the problem.
Our IG na Kinoti were up their game. Badala ya kulaumu wanasiasa, kwa sababu kila wakati mimi nimeandikisha statement mara 3 sasa na sijapelekwa kotini kwa sababu hakuna ushahidi yoyote.
In Mombasa County, people living with disabilities, women and youth have been encouraged to apply for tenders to supply schools with new desks. Speaking during the distribution of the 5,000 desks to 70 primary schools, Mombasa County Commissioner Gilbert Kitio said it is a unique opportunity for the marginalized groups to do business with the government and get a chance to empower themselves economically. Elsewhere, West Pokot County Assembly Speaker Catherine Mukenyang claims her life is in danger. The Speaker claims she is being threatened by Area Governor Professor John Lonyangapuo. Mukenyang has recorded a statement and says she is not taking the threats lightly, even as the governor dismissed the claims as fiction.
Mimi kama speaker na bodi yangu inatagetiwa mpaka maisha yangu imefika hapo, ninaambiwa nifungiwe mikono kwangu. Hiyo ndio imenifanya nije, na kukiwa na jambo lolote kunihusu mimi nimeambia mpaka jamii, na sasa na address media. I feel I'm not safe, I'm not secure because of what is going round and the wrangles between me and the government.
And the government has partnered with Kenya Association of Manufacturers to develop mentorship programs that will see the youth in the country trained to bridge their skills as well as provide them with employment opportunities. Youth Affairs Principal Secretary Julius Korir encouraged the youth to take advantage of public-private partnerships.
We wanted young people of Kenya to leverage and to tap into this resource that we have so that they can be inspired, they can be motivated, they can be mentored by this large group into being the next industrialists, being the next large manufacturers.
And finally, Federation of Women Lawyers, FIDA, has launched a program that seeks to end the gender equality misconception in the country. The gender mainstreaming program, which is being implemented in 6 counties, seeks to ensure gender-based budgeting.
The main essence of having the training on gender mainstreaming is to ensure that we have gender-responsive programs. We want to make sure that each and every element is touched so that we do not have any lack of resources.
Let's now cross our borders. More than 500 million people have been affected by severe flooding in Ethiopia, with some places recording the heaviest rains in a century. Elsewhere, scientists from Uganda's Makerere University and the National Army have launched a plasma study. This is to find out whether plasma from recovered coronavirus patients has an effect on those newly infected with the virus.
The seasonal rains that have caused the levels of the River Nile to be at its highest in a century have resulted to massive flooding, rendering more than 500,000 people in Ethiopia homeless. The floods have killed livestock, destroyed crops and damaged homes and public infrastructure to an extent not seen in decades. Neighboring Sudan has also been hit by severe flooding. Elsewhere, Mozambique's Defense Minister Jaime Netu has said that a video showing people dressed in army uniforms beating and killing a naked woman was doctored. He said the culprits have been identified and will be punished. The video caused outrage after it was circulated on social media. And scientists from Uganda's Makerere University have launched a study to find out whether plasma from recovered coronavirus patients has an effect on those recently infected. Convalescent plasma is that taken from individuals who have recovered from an infection and may contain antibodies against that particular disease. The team has collected the first 162 units of plasma from donors. This is the country's first COVID-19 convalescent plasma study. Data collected by Johns Hopkins University in the US shows more than 29 million COVID-19 cases have been confirmed worldwide. Over 934,000 deaths have been linked to the virus. This is the number of confirmed coronavirus cases in India surpassed 5 million, according to officials. India has the second highest number of cases in the world after the US. More than 80,000 people have died so far. India's rise in infections comes as the government continues to lift restrictions to try and boost the economy. Meanwhile, Barbados has announced its intention to remove Queen Elizabeth as its head of state and become a republic. It aims to complete the process in time for the 55th anniversary of independence from Britain in November 2021. A speech written by Prime Minister Mia Mottley said Barbadians wanted a Barbadian head of state. Finally, smoke from the wildfires ravaging much of the U.S. West Coast has spread to the east of the country, casting a haze over New York and Washington, D.C. Scientists say the smoke on the East Coast was so high that it would impact on air quality. The blazes have burned vast areas of land and killed at least 36 people since early August.
We're taking a second break. Business News is coming up next.
On the next episode of Kona.
I fled the house before anyone woke up. I can't stand being in there.
It's that one.
Julia is into gardening now. Courage is brainwashing her, I swear.
How am I supposed to trust you? Kwanza kama unaitwa snitch.
Sasa wewe ulitrust aje jamaa na unajua he's working directly for Kabasa.
But she's different.
Not so bad.
Oh, you like her like that?
What do you expect from me? If she likes being this chirpy,
Mary Poppins,
whoever she is, it's fine with me.
On the next episode.
Beyond Zero Safari that we had last year was a milestone, and it gave us a good opening for us to give out even ourselves and the services, the health services, because the turn-up was good.
Children born with disabilities deserve to be protected. And today, the National Council of People with Disability is registering children so that we can ensure families who need support can benefit through the government social protection program.
Kliniki tamba ya Beyond Zero almaarufu Beyond Zero Mobile Clinic imeendelea kuchangia juhudi za serikali ya kaunti, juhudi za kuboresha afya ya wenyeji.
Every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. only on KBC Channel 1.
Welcome back. Time for business. Kenya has received a 643 million shilling grant from the European Union to fund the cereals value chain post-COVID-19. Agriculture Principal Secretary Professor Hamadi Boga says the grant is part of a 15 billion shillings fund expected to finance a government initiative to increase cereal production across 13 high-potential counties.
Kenya produced 4 million tons of cereals in 2019, which was 5% lower than the average recorded in the previous 5 years in what was blamed on flooding. However, Agriculture Principal Secretary Professor Hamadi Boga said the deficit has been partially bridged by an increase of 15,710 metric tons of cereals annually in the country's grain reserve. Over the next 5 years, the government is investing 5 billion shillings to increase cereals production. The project targets 185,000 farmers and will seek to increase maize, beans, sorghum, green grams and cowpeas in 13 counties.
We have seen reduced post-harvest losses from as high as 25% to 11%. We have seen increased maize production from 13 bags per acre to 19 bags per acre.
To reduce post-harvest losses, the government is refurbishing 11 warehouses in targeted counties.
Counties are the cornerstone of agricultural development, and they need to be given the right resources to fulfill their tasks.
We have also set up 99 collection centers with proper equipment for post-harvest management, and we have also set up some warehouses. 6 are ready, refurbished, 5 are ongoing.
The European Union has offered Kenya a 643 million shillings grant that will finance market access and value chain post-COVID-19.
We hope that this support will go a long way to strengthen the role of the counties in agricultural extension and the monitoring not only of KSEPCAL activities, but also of all agricultural and value chain development activities.
Farmers will also be trained on proper crop husbandry to produce quality cereals. Benson Groba reporting for Channel 1 Business.
And in other business matters, manufacturers are slowly increasing the female workforce, which is helping shed the tag that the manufacturing sector is male-dominated. The latest survey by the Kenya Association of Manufacturers found that new companies have the highest female workforce of 41% compared to firms that have been in operation for more than 40 years that have a female workforce of a meager 29%.
And there we have it, the official launch of the Women in Manufacturing report.
The manufacturing sector has for long been dominated by males in terms of ownership and workforce. However, this has slowly been changing as more females take up different roles in companies, as attested by the latest survey by the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. The survey indicates that companies in the manufacturing sector are predominantly male-owned and staffed across the 14 manufacturing subsectors, except for the chemical and allied subsector that accounts for 50% female. Agriculture and fresh produce, paper and board, and services and consultants are the 3 subsectors out of the 14 that have an average female workforce of 40%.
It as a bad report. It looks like a bad report, but I see it as a good thing. It gives us room to see what we can improve on. It shows us where the challenges are engaged in the SME sector. Like you said, there's a lot of manufacturing, women are manufacturing somewhere. So what is the kind of support we are going to give them?
The survey indicates that companies that have been in operation for more than 40 years had a female workforce of 29%, rising to 14% for new firms.
The program continues to build the capabilities of women industrialists and nurture their talents. Sometimes with my young ladies, I tell them, me, what I did is I didn't have the money, so I had a little bit of seed capital. So I just divided it, and I took a little bit into manufacturing, and I went to the industrial area, and I ordered my machinery. And luckily for me at that time, I just wrote post-dated checks.
To fast-track the process, manufacturers are rooting for identifying, then mentoring and equipping women in the manufacturing sector who will take up decision-making positions as well as be future industrialists.
Being in an industry that is male-dominated, you have your women wear your trousers and be bold. Come. Government announces so many resources for women in business.
They emphasize the need for supportive legislation to ensure women participate more in economic development.
And to business news making headlines across our borders, drive-in cinemas are seeing a resurgence in Johannesburg, South Africa, among strict restrictions on entertainment and socializing due to the COVID-19 pandemic. The Roadhouse-style drive-in cinemas are making a comeback decades after their peak popularity in the 1960s and 1970s. As the vacation industry struggles to reinvent itself and find new ways to become profitable. Details in stories making headlines in the business world.
Drive-ins have become increasingly popular as South Africa's long COVID-19 lockdown continues. Palesa Muloi, CEO and co-founder of tech startup Parkup, says they came up with the drive-in cinema idea to monetize parking space, which have become empty for several months. He says they borrowed the concept from the United States, where companies were popping up to run drive-in cinemas. Before the pandemic, Parkup helped property owners make extra money from their unused parking space by renting them to drivers in need. For just $10, customers can enjoy a hearty Roadhouse meal and popcorn while watching a classic film from their cars. Meanwhile, facing a shrinking economy due to COVID-19, more and more Brazilians are starting their own businesses to secure income. Tanara de Souza Vieira, a mother of two, used to work as a designer. After losing a job due to COVID-19 pandemic, she struggled to make ends meet. But with a surplus of time, she tried her hand at baking bread for the first time. As her baking skills improved, her daughter started to post pictures of her baking goods online, and a new business was born. Selling bread has eased her economic hardships, and she is looking to expand by selling pasta. Finally, the president of Spain's Community of Madrid has announced a 50% tax cut that applies in all aspects of personal income to promote economic recovery and create more job opportunities. Isabel Diaz Ayuso, the autonomous region's president, says Madrid plans to invest 80 million euros to improve healthcare over the next 3 years, as COVID-19 has reduced the GDP of the Community of Madrid by 12.7% and triggered nearly 30 billion euros in economic loss. She also says culture and tourism sector, which are the most impacted by the pandemic, will be provided with working capital, and that the government will prioritize the budget for public health, education and employment.
Time for sports. The Elgeyo-Marakwet County Development and Implementation Coordination Committee has recommended the immediate termination of the contract for the rehabilitation of Kamariny Stadium. The committee, chaired by the County Commissioner Dr. Ahmed Omar, said they were dissatisfied with the slow progress of the rehabilitation works by Funan contractors.
We are really baffled by the slow progress being made by Funan Construction, that is in charge of the contract at Kamariny Stadium. We are not at all happy based on our progress evaluation after every 1 month or two, and based on visits by CAS from Nairobi, Minister of Sports, and based on the promise given by Funan Construction. We are convinced that this project, the contractor has to be terminated, the contract has to be terminated immediately, and another contractor who is willing and who is able to continue with the work.
The county commissioner said though the stadium was supposed to be completed and handed over to the government by September, only 30% of the works have been done and the 70% remaining cannot be completed within 1 month.
The contractor has failed to proceed on the work regularly and diligently as required by the contract document. I think the last time he was on site, we don't even know. He's not been on site for a long time. The last time his agent was with CAS, Hassan Nur, is that he promised that by September, the project will be complete. Yet we know, even today, it is only 30% complete. The remaining works are so massive, 70% will not be completed in a month's time. So that convinced us that he's not capable, he doesn't have the capacity to do this work.
Kamariny Stadium, which started in 2016, is one of the county flagship projects in a county that takes pride in producing star athletes who have brought honor to the country. The lack of a stadium has left especially young upcoming athletes with no place to train after the rehabilitation work stalled in 2017 due to non-payment. The works started in June this year after the government released part of the payment with a promise that they would be completed within 4 months. Frederick Muki for Channel 1 Sports.
Aspirants in the forthcoming Football Kenya Federation elections want the Sports Dispute Tribunal to throw out a case seeking to stop the contested poll. The Sport Dispute Tribunal on Tuesday declined to grant orders stopping the election, saying it will not hesitate to nullify the process if it finds that it falls short of the democratic principles and rules governing the exercise.
Kwa hivyo mimi nasema hii tukura tunaenda ya 3, tafadhali wache kuwe kura ya mwisho. Na angependa pia kurai sana SGT ambaye inaangalia masuala ya spoti, kama kuna malumbano waweze kutupilia mbali hizi kesi za football elections, na wache watu waweze fanya uchaguzi ili watu waweze fanya uamuzi ili mpira yetu iweze kusonga mbele.
Those guys were in court. For sure they have no interest of football at heart, because we've been there for the last 2 elections, and I believe that all the ruling that SDT gave, compelling FKF and even the board to make some changes, they all happened.
Mambo ya kotini kila wakati haitusaidii. Talent mingi zinapotelea kwa sababu ya hii mambo ya mvutano. Na right now sisi tuko ready tufanye elections na ball iendelee.
Na vilabu wanajua kazi yetu, na pia watupatie tamu nyingine kama tunavyoomba. Tumewasaidia kwa hii miaka 4 kwa kuendeleza mpira wetu. Wakituongezea tamu nyingine, kama mimi nikisema mimi wakiniongezea tamu nyingine kunipatia kiti cha chairperson, kuna mengi nitawazidishia kuyafanya.
And across our borders, Bournemouth beat Crystal Palace 11-10 in a Carabao Cup shootout after a goalless draw to set up a third-round tie with Manchester City. After all 20 outfield players scored, Wayne Hennessy saved Bournemouth keeper Asmir Begovic's sport kick, but then blazed his own over the bar. David Brooks scored his second kick of the shootout, and Begovic saved Luka Milosevic's effort to send the championship side through. Following the win, the side will now face holders Manchester City next week. In other results, West Ham hammered Charlton 3-0, while Newcastle claimed a 1-0 victory over Blackburn. Aston Villa thrashed Burton 3-1 as Watford won 3-0 against Oxford United. And staying in England, Arsenal captain Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang has signed a new 3-year deal with the club. The 31-year-old striker joined the Gunners in January of 2018 and won the English Premier League Golden Boot in his first full season in 2018-2019. Aubameyang's contract was due to expire at the end of the 2020-2021 season, meaning he would have been free to talk to other clubs from January. The Gabon striker scored in Arsenal's victory at Fulham on Saturday, the first game of the new Premier League season. He also scored 2 goals against Chelsea in the FA Cup final in July, securing the Gunners' place in next season's Europa League. Since joining Arsenal, Aubameyang has scored 72 goals in 111 appearances in all competitions. In 86 Premier League appearances, he has scored 55 goals and made 12 assists. And that does it for us for this edition of Channel One News Hour. We do thank you very much for keeping us company. My name is Edward Kabasa. Lenso Dingo has been our sign language interpreter. Evening, Irene Wichuma Odim is coming up next with the day's weather forecast.